Hello, it's me, Zoti, and welcome back to another episode of The Light Collective. On this episode of The Light Collective, we have a very special guest joining us to discuss some interesting subject matter. I suggest you stick around, so come on in here, get comfortable, let's get started. The Light Collective, the Light Collective, the Light. And welcome back. How good it is to see you all again. And to my right, I have Mr. Delahnnovah-starr Livingstone. Is that how you
Yeah,
say your name, sir?
yeah.
Delahnnovah.
Della stands for day and Novus for new, so it's tied into the new day of creation. Della Nova.
New day of creation.
Yeah, and the star hyphen star in the first name ties it to the fifth dimension. So it's Melchizedek name.
Melchizedek name.
And
Okay.
we can explain Melchizedek later.
Yes, we would love to get into that. Well, it is an honor to be speaking with you. You are the wordsmith, right? To
Correct.
the
Yeah.
book, the three series book, the Revelatorium of Alpha and Omega. Is that right? Being one of
Yeah, the Revelatorium of Alpha and Omega is the second book. The name of the series overall is the Revelatorium, and there'll eventually be seven books.
Seven books.
Yeah.
This is the first one, correct?
Yeah,
Is it the first one here?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first one is the intelligent design of creation.
Yeah.
That would be the first. The second one would be a book called the Revelatorium of Alpha and Omega, or Omega, as some people pronounce, and followed by the third, which is the Radionnic Ship of the Heavenly Host.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect.
Those are the good guys, just to throw that in there. The heavenly host. Yeah. It's the same heavenly host the Bible refers to all the way throughout. It's not angels playing harps up in the cloud. It's the huge fleet of ships overhead.
Yes. So, again, ladies and gentlemen, this is the wordsmith of the three books just mentioned, which we'll come back to. And Mr. Del-Star for short, he is the wordsmith of said book. What we're going to get into today are a few subject matters related to the Ark of the Covenant, Christ consciousness, and some of the other things that we cover here on the channel. So, Del, what would you say about the Ark of the Covenant? What is the Ark of the Covenant? Did it exist? I mean, there are so many different theories or interpretations of what the Ark of the Covenant is. To name a few, I think the people may have heard before, is that the Ark of the Covenant, there's one theory that the Ark of the Covenant was handled by Moses at some point, and withheld in it was the commandments, as well as, I think, the rod of someone, I forget who it was, is in that version. Then there's another version of what the Ark of the Covenant was, which is some container that has a lot of radiation, and like you can't touch it without a radiation suit or something to that degree. Then there's another theory that the Ark of the Covenant was Mary Magdalene, because she housed Christ, Jesus, or some people Yahshua, Yehoshua, as some people call Jesus, or that character. What would you say the Ark of the Covenant is?
Well, the long and the short of it is, the Ark of the Covenant is obviously not a scroll in the box. Whenever you make an agreement with somebody, you form an ark in consciousness between you. So when you and I agreed to do this talk this evening, there was an ark of consciousness set up to bring this thing through to fruition, so to speak. So the Ark of the Covenant was a covenant made between God and the Israelis about 3,500 years ago, that they would act as the crucible for Christ 2,000 years ago. That was the covenant. So the Ark of the Covenant was that agreement in consciousness, right? Now, the state of spiritual consciousness of people at the time was very bestial. It was very low. It was still coming out of the after effects of Atlantis. And so Moses was given the Ten Commandments uh, as rules to live by to whip them up into shape, which it did. 2,000 years ago, the Israelis were far more, the Sanhedrin and Romans and all the negative aspects aside, the Roman society was very spiritual compared to what it was originally. So that was the birth of Christ 2,000 years ago. And that itself is a huge new whole story because what really happened then, most people don't have a clue. That Jesus was the Son of God and he died for our sins, and then which is a whole pile of claptrap. He didn't die for our sins, he died because of them. But he was basically, if nobody gets the picture yet, he was basically murdered. He was, people that walk around with crucifixes all day or carrying a little electric chair around the neck, the same difference. Because it was a death instrument. It was malpractice all the way. 2,000 years ago, we have to do a bit of a backdrop, a cosmic backdrop here,
Okay.
to set up the, bestowal of Christ 2,000 years ago. There's basically, we are in an inner and an outer. The creation is over 900 trillion light years across. And it comprised of an inner and an outer creation. The outer creation surrounds the inner creation like petals of a flower. And in the outer creation, there are 7 super universes. And each one is, the Holy Trinity is Father, Mother, Son, Daughter. It's a family principle, as above, so below.
Yes.
And each one of the super universes, the Holy Trinity can be permuted in 7 different ways. The attribute of the Father is intelligence, the attribute of the Mother is substance, and the attribute of the only begotten Son and Daughter is energy. So intelligence, energy, and substance is all there is. Find something different, you won't. All right. And number 2, it can be permuted. Those 3 can be permuted 7 different ways. So you have intelligence, energy, substance, energy, substance, intelligence, intelligence, energy, and then substance, intelligence, energy, and substance triune, which is the super universe we're in. See, so each one of the super universes biased on one side or another of these 7 attributes. And each super universe is, after the first, they were all begot in this series of the intelligence, energy, substance sequence, and each one was bifurcated off the previous. So the first super universe of intelligence bifurcated, and that was now the universe of energy, and then the substance, and so on. And
So really quick, it's really quick. I like to always interject when there's like what I like to call big words used, just in case anybody's watching. I don't want anyone to be lost. So bifurcate, you said bifurcating. Does that mean splitting or
it's
going
like an
in
atom.
different
No,
directions?
it's like an atom. When a baby's being born in the womb, there's an atom, and then poof, there's 2, then there's 4,
Right.
then there's 8, poof, then there's. When you
Gotcha.
think about that itself is almost magical, But anyway,
Yes.
that's bifurcation. That's
So an atom like the one I have right behind me, guys. See that this little
off there in the
you
corner.
guys? Yes, you see. And then you see what I have here in the corner here. It says that we are energy, folks. Yeah.
Yes.
This is what we definitely want to get across on this platform. But please go ahead, continue.
All right. So the fact is that there are 7 super universes now, and they were all based on the male side of the only begotten Son and Father, the male frequencies. There are now in commencement, as we speak, a new 8th super universe, and it's going to be the first of 7 female super universes. So you have the 7 male and the 7 female, you're back in balance. See? And this super universe, the new one, is bifurcating off this one. And in particular, super universes are broken up into galaxies. local universes of 1,000 galaxies. And
Mhm.
this local universe of 1,000 galaxies is the bifurcation point where the new female super universe is going to be starting up. So the whole thing that's going on here right now, and there's a lot, as you know, going on, blah, 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 is towards that end, is to start the bifurcation process, which is pretty eminent, actually. The problem was that the whole progress was stopped 5 billion years ago by an eruption out of Orion. It was called the Luciferian self-will rebellion of the cosmic overplus. And the long and the short of that, there's chapters about this in the Revelatorium of Alpha and Omega. There's a chapter on the cosmic overplus. There's a chapter on Luciferian rebellion, and another chapter on the aftermath of the rebellion. We are in the cleanup and the aftermath of the rebellion.
The Revelatorium, guys. Okay.
As we speak. But Lucifer was the first level Lannadonic administrator of the Orion solar sector. When I said that galaxies are broken up into local universes of 1,000 galaxies each galaxy is broken up into local solar sectors of 1,000 solar sectors each. Now we're in the Orion solar sector. And Lucifer was the Lannadonic, they're called Lannadonic first levels paradise, or not paradise, but sun daughters. They have a semi-creative capacity. They create the magnetic fields and so on the stars and planets are precipitated into. They have a pretty big, they're pretty heavy duty people,
What? So to run that back one more time. So you said these people are called what now? And they have what? Some sort of magnetic
No,
ability to.
they're called first level Lannadonic administrators, and their consciousness has it they're told by the head of the local universe that we want a new solar system over here. Well, they'll set up the magnetic fields that the precipitation around the atoms that project the solar atoms to become the new stars and planets. So they have some creative capacity, but not extensive. But Lucifer, the cosmic overplus was a new phenomenon and never existed anywhere else in creation, and nobody could figure out what it was for. But because there's a new super universe starting up in Andromeda is where it's going to start up, and it's the first of a string. It's going to be based on intelligence. So in order to have a higher than normal intelligence for the new female super universe, there had to be a bias or a higher intelligence capacity in this local universe. And that's called the cosmic overplus. Plus means intelligence. So that's what the cosmic overplus was. Well, to make a number of pages out of the book condensed, Lucifer saw a way to use the frequency. The bottom line of creation, I need to get this out. The bottom line of creation is the fifth dimension. The fifth dimension.
So at minimum, creation is meant to be in the fifth dimension.
It starts, that's the bottom line. There's under normal circumstances, there's nothing in the third dimension like we are here. I'll get to why that happened, but that was that's what Lucifer pulled. So the bottom line of creation is the fifth dimension. The seventh dimension is the mainstay of the outer creation. Then you go into the inner creation. I guess say the outer creation surrounds the inner creation, and the ninth dimension to the 13th is the inner creation. The 13th is the island of paradise. That's where it all begins and where it all ends. The island of paradise at the big show. See, the eighth dimension, the frequencies of the inner creation are totally different than those of the outer, and vice versa. So if you're going from, say, the inner creation into the outer creation, your frequencies have to change. So you go through a period of transportation very, very quietly and serene, and your frequencies are quietly transmuted from one creation to the other. And if you're going back up, it's the same thing. Your frequencies are slowly changed from the outer to the inner. So the eighth dimension is a throughput. There's nobody in it, just people going through one way or the other. Um, so the plan to bring, like I say, the current universe is 900 trillion light years across, and more. And it's still beginning. It's in its infancy. It's still just getting started. But they're now starting to bring online the seven female, only begotten daughter and mother side of things. And that was kept under wraps all this time because they didn't want speculation in the ranks to, disrupt the frequencies. So it wasn't revealed to the higher dimensions until 1989 through an upload of the Revelatorium stuff to one of the planets and they're higher up. That was where it was first revealed to humanity at large, creation at large, not humanity, creation at large, that there is in fact a new super universe underway. So Lucifer's plan was to use the frequencies of the overplus in a newfound way. Societies exist in the bands of visible light. And the visible light bands are third dimension, fifth dimension, seventh dimension, ninth dimension, 11th dimension, and 13, the hell in the paradise. So Lucifer said, well, there could be an evolution started up down in the third dimension. And in his opinion, having great advantages because when there's two kinds of beings in creation, and there's only the two kinds. One is ascending and the other is descending. The ascending beings evolved from a starting point of substance and intelligence, but their Christ light or their Christ factor is diminished. And they go through a long, long series of incarnations, one after the other, learning a little bit each time. And then when they're finished that learning experience in the fifth dimension, they're ascended up into the seventh, where they start learning to put it into practice. Then when they finish that, then they go through the portal into the ninth dimension, work their way up the inner creation to become trinitized at the feet of creation. The descendant beings, which you and I are, and probably most of the people watching the video and so on, we're the pacekeepers, we make sure everything works according to plan, make sure the ascendancy evolves properly. And, the public calls descendants angels, but they're descendant beings. And those are the only two types of beings in creation. One ascend and the other make sure they ascend. That's the long and short of it. So, but that process to the fifth dimension is very, very long, a little bit each time, a little bit. See, people don't believe in reincarnation. Well, reincarnation is how creation has been set up, because in the fifth dimension, you reincarnate, multiple times till you get a picture of what Christ is all about, Christ consciousness. That's where you're going.
Yes. On that topic, is there a difference between incarnation and reincarnation?
Well,
are there different things?
No, essentially, no. It's just a matter of tone. Incarnating means you've gone into some place for the first time, and reincarnation means you've left it and come back into it.
Okay.
So that's it in a nutshell. Like they'll incarnate for the first time into the fifth dimension and then reincarnate in it. But Lucifer said, I can see a way of using the frequencies of the overplus to be able to bring them down into the third dimension, which is also a triune octave of light. And therefore, their acclimatization to the seventh dimension will be a lot faster, because they'll be in a triune environment. It'll be a lot coarser and rougher, but at least they'll be familiar with the triune, features of it. So he worked out a whole complex plan to speed up the evolution by bringing it down into the third dimension. He pitched it to the galactic community 5 billion years ago, and they said it's a good plan in the short term. It's a brilliant idea. I mean, Lucifer really had to put the pencil to the paper to figure this one out. This was no small deal. And he said it's a really good plan in the short term, but there are energies already in the pipe that will eventually short circuit against this. So we have to say no. Well, the fall of pride was, well, these guys are too stupid to understand the subtleties of my plan. These are just bozos who put themselves, self-appointed themselves and so on. So he rebuked their, failure to, certify it. And that formally became the Luciferian rebellion. All right.
Okay. So the Luciferian rebellion, it involved frequency, him manipulating frequency to some degree.
Yeah, basically manipulated frequencies within the cosmic overplus stuff that was able to allow him to formulate third dimensional physical bodies instead of fifth dimensional Maracha bodies and up.
Mm-hmm.
The only problem, so he went ahead and did it anyway. Which is what it's called the rebellion, the fall of pride. But the only problem was that when anybody went along with him on the plan, went into the third dimension, they lost all their higher dimensional connections and had no way back. So those that got trapped into the third dimension when that happened and are still around, most of them, eventually became psychotic, and that's what are called demons today. So we're in the cleanup of all that crap now. We're in the cleanup and the aftermath, of the rebellion. So that's why.
So there are energies, we'll say, that exist in this third dimension that are trapped here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that would give, so for the audience, I think that would give these people a great reason to cause as much havoc as possible then, huh? In some cases.
Well, yeah, that's their excuse. Yeah. I mean, some of these guys aren't all that bad, but some of them are pretty bad. No, they can't hurt you, by the way. A demon, Christ put up an XYZ, they were called XYZ comforters in man's consciousness 2,000 years ago. So the demons can't, up until then, they could just walk in, take over, do what they want. But they can't do that ever since you have to want them in order for them to come in. They can make a lot of noise and scare the shit out of you and come on to you at night and so on. And you have to go back to the pit from where you came, blah, 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 as loud as you can, but they can't hurt you unless you yourself. And that's the problem with a lot of these woke people. They're stupid enough to want it.
Yeah.
And they're getting it,
So when it comes to the Ark of the Covenant and it being a agreement or that the Most High had with the Israel, you're saying the Israelites or had with the Israel?
Okay. The Israelis.
The Israelis.
Yeah.
So you said to spread Christ consciousness.
No, to be the crucible for the birth.
To be the crucible.
Yeah. Because he was born into the Jerusalem society. Well, that was the crucible. Right. Here's the interesting thing. Every 2,000 years is called a dispensation because a new energy is dispensed into it. And we just finished the 2,000 years of Pisces, and we're now into the 2,000 years of Aquarius. Okay. And that happens every 25,000 years. And during Aquarius, every 25,000 years, complete galactic law is introduced into the consciousness. It's called the Great Book. The Great Book is opened, and that's what's ongoing now. All your people are having awareness of the fact that they're starting to have insights and illuminations and consciousness and so on. Well, that's the Great Book being opened.
Yes. And so when we talk, one of the things that I find tends to cap people, some folks, it'll cap their I'll say it like this. It's my belief that the universe will show any individual as much as they're willing to receive. So the
Yeah.
Most High will, but at the same time, I believe that the universe is not it's not going to force itself on you. So if you're
No, no,
capped, if
no,
your
no, no,
mind,
no, no. The universe waits for you to take responsibility.
right. And so I say that to say that organized religion, with just to be very clear, I take absolutely no issue with anybody's choice and what they choose to do with their belief systems. However, and my definition of religion is a strong belief backed up by action. That's my definition of religion, so we're clear. But organized religion, I think has the potential to cap people off from experiencing the full vastness of what creation is, what what the cosmos are about, just the fuller picture, which I think was done intentionally. So what would you say about Jesus? Because I think that that's just one of the great dividers when we're having this conversation. And like, people who are within organized religion would probably cut the conversation, after a certain point because it's not in line with their organized religion. So do you believe in Jesus Christ? Do you believe that Jesus was an energy that existed? Can we talk a little bit about that for just in case we have anybody who labels themselves a particular religion watching the video? What are your views on Jesus? What's the relation to consciousness, Christ? What are you saying in
All
terms
right.
of that?
Well, that's a fairly long thread, so I'll begin it by saying you're absolutely right about the religions. They've all been tailored and quartered to keep mankind from not knowing the truth. Suppress the Catholics. Only through us can we go to God and so on, which is absolute horseshit. Without due respect. So, all right,
Yes.
but when I said that, an evolution like on, well, supposedly on Earth, supposing it's in the fifth dimension, when it's ready to go up to the seventh, then a Christ triune being will incarnate into their ranks and is called their Christ. And their Christ teaches and exemplifies what they're going to become at the end of the seventh dimension. So they have a pull towards the future. So it's called a bestowal. The triune being does a bestowal. Well, the fact was 2,000 years ago, mankind was in the third dimension. So the bestowal was done in the third dimension. That had never been done before in creation. Okay. And secondly, paradisical son daughters, like teacher son daughters, magisterial son daughters, and so on, variously do these bestowals. And they're for 1,000 years. And as I say, they teach and exemplify as the evolution's last step, where they're going to go. See? Well, in one and only case out of the entire whole local universe, the creator son daughters that created this local universe, or the local universe, does the bestowal as part of their experience and ongoing evolution too. And so in this case, Christ Michael of Nebadon, who is the creator son daughter that created this local universe of 1,000 galaxies, did the bestowal. And the male name, they see Earth. Right now we're in the third dimension, and the third dimension is matrixed in an animal format, which is on a male-female basis, male on this side, female on that side. Every species that you can think of has both a male and a female half. So when you incarnate into the third dimension, your soul atom, which is androgyne, which means it's male and female as one, from the fifth dimension up, has to split into the male and female halves into the third dimension. Well, there's where your soulmates are, whom God has united in heaven, let no man rend asunder. Every one of you, doesn't matter where you are, who you are, and how old you are, and when you are, and so on, you have a soulmate somewhere else on the planet. Your soulmate will look it'll be the opposite sign. If you're a male, they'll be a female, obviously. and they will look almost identical to you. I've seen soulmate pairs that were like looking in a mirror. It's really amazing, you know. Um, and so that's what soulmates. That's where the idea of soulmates come from. So, the Christ bestowal took place 2,000 years ago with Christ Michael from Nebadon, who was a creator, paradisical son-daughter. Basically, son of God is correct, but that's like saying a car is a carburetor. There's more to the car than a carburetor. While saying that Christ was the Son of God, there was more to the Christ bestowal than just that he was the Son of God, sort of thing. Mary Magdalene was the female half. She was the only one at the tomb for the 3 days when he underwent his transfiguration from 3D outer matter substance into fifth dimensional Moronti substance. And for 40 years after, he was able to appear around the world as the great white light, or great white God, Oxycodal, for example, by lowering his frequency down to visible light. He couldn't stay after the crucifixion because one of the miracles of this particular incarnation is that as the creator son daughter, the entire energy pathway from the higher dimensions down were passing through him, her, as their life stream. That's where the term life stream comes from. Well, while they were walking around on the surface of the planet, the whole entire life stream was passing through their consciousness in the outer world. So again, that was one that never had done before, and quite a miracle, just before it even happened. But when he was crucified, he was supposed to go for 95 years. There's 3 crosses. Jumping on this, there's 3 crosses. You have the cross of power, it's called. You have the rod and thy staff; they shall comfort me. That's in Psalm 23rd. Thy rod and thy staff. Well, you have an energy link that's from the top all the way down through your feet. Through the 9. It's the 12 signs of the zodiac going down through your body, and the energy moves down out through your feet, comes back up purified, and goes back up. And if it's coming out the top in abundance, you have a halo, and that's called the tree of life. Those 12 zodiac signs are the tree of life inside your body, represented. And you have a rod, which is from the midriff fore and aft. The energy moves, it comes down and moves out, moves up and moves out, and so on. If this positive energy is moving out your rod, then everybody around you will feel the goodness. Like a cat will across the street, say hi to you, and then walk back across the street and carry on. That happened to me, by the way. That's why you can. A dog will, if you're, negative energies are negative with static and so on, and the animals can feel your static from that, and dogs will bark at you to cross the street. You see people walking by, and the dog on the other side of the street, yapping its head off. So the rod and thy staff, they will comfort me, but you go through a process of transformation where you raise your frequency up until you transfigure. And when you transfigure, your third dimensional auric body has fused with your fourth dimensional auric body. Your third dimensional physical body has fused with your fourth dimensional auric body, and you're no longer subject to death. Okay, then the next step from that is transfiguration, which means you are converted into a full, fifth dimensional frequency. And you're no longer subject to death. Well, Jesus was scheduled to walk for 95 years. And then because he had transfigured on the mount at 33, he was no longer subject to death. And but had agreed that nonetheless he would undergo. So there's the cross of power, which I just said. There's the cross of shame. Okay, if you die of old age, obviously you could not have achieved transfiguration. Shame on you. So that's the cross of shame when you die of ordinary old age. It's called the cross of shame. And then the third cross is, of course, the cross of death by the Romans, because it forces you out of your incarnation before its time. So Jesus had to grieve that even though he was fully transfigured, at the age of 95, he would pass away. 3 days later, he'd resurrect. Then he'd be here for another 900 years. He was supposed to be here for 1,000 years. But the crucifixion cut all that off. So for 40 years afterwards, a damage control plan was put together by the Melchizedek engineers in the Melchizedek worlds of the Magellanic Clouds, which is kind of a mouthful. That's where all this stuff has come from, the same place, the Magellanic Clouds. And it outlined a blueprint that would be, damage control instead of the original plan. So, and that's what we call the revelations now, is that outlined plan. And we're in the middle of it. We're in the middle of, the whole outline or outfolding of that particular plan.
So I think the answer to that question is yes, you do think that what most people would refer to as Jesus or Yehoshua, Yahshua, these just the other names of the energy, did exist. I believe in your book, it states that one of the reasons he was here was to teach the reality of the Father and the Son.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Mother and daughter. The Father and Son has been going on forever.
Right. So I'm saying that's what it was for. Now we're going into the mother and the daughter.
We're already the consciousness is already moving well towards the female side of things.
Yes.
You're a really good example. I mean, 20 years ago, done this, you would have had a picture of a painting on the wall and some books on the bookshelf, 3D.
Mm-hmm.
You got a whole pile of cosmic shit going on there, and that's all. And the way you're dressed, I mean, with your hat and all that, your scarf and all that, that's female side, and you're seeing it more and more every day. Males will say "I love you" and give their buddy, in the bar, a big hug. Well, in the '60s, that would have been unheard of.
Really?
Yeah. So the female expression is starting to come out, warm and fuzzy all over the place.
Very interesting. Very interesting. There was a lot you said there that was quite interesting. But this is just the first, I hope, of a few conversations that you and I get to share together. Let's move into some current events that you think could be how your book would be helpful to understanding and overstanding, as I like to say, some of the current events that's going on right now. For example, people are actually looking up in the sky for the first time, in a long time. A lot of folks are, being forced to kind of look up and they're
down. Yeah.
Right. There was actually a movie I think called Don't Look Up. I think that's the name of the movie.
I saw that.
Yeah,
that's loaded with diapers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So right now, speaking of the skies, there are a multitude of things occurring in the skies. People are seeing what they are calling drones. People are seeing what they're calling orbs. People are seeing a multitude of things. People have discovered, federal documents like Project Bluebeam, for example, and so on, which discusses the government creating technology to project images into the sky. This is just what people have been putting out there in the air, regarding the things that are occurring in the sky. One of your books discusses what you mentioned. We kind of hit on it a little earlier, but Radionnic Ships of the heavenly host, which again we emphasize are the good guys. Can you talk to us a little bit about what you think is going on in terms of the drone situation, and just a little bit
about? I'm going to avoid that because I don't have clear cut yes or no. There's this. It's not just one thing. There's three or four things all going on at the same time. The good guys are involved, the bad guys are involved, other countries are involved. This is
Okay.
the final hurrah for those
Yes.
guys. They're giving it everything.
Yes.
You know.
Yes. Okay. And I totally get that. But let's talk then about just a little taste about radionic ships, since we have people's attention to look up now, right, in
All
the
right.
sky. Let's discuss a little bit about what a radionic ship of a heavenly host is.
All right. Well, in the long and short of it, there's over a half a billion radionic ships of light around Earth every day. But they're in the fourth dimension, so the naked eye can't see them. But their magnetic fields ionize the water vapor around, and the ionized water vapor moves in along the magnetic lines because it's magnetically responsive. And so you have the development of what's called a radionic cloud. It's like a palm of a hand. The rays in the cloud are going out this way, to the left, going to the left, and in the middle, they're going up. And there's countless different types of clouds, but they all have the same formula. It's like an outstretched hand. And the clouds that are produced can't be produced by nature and are their signatures. So if you see a radionic cloud, it has to be caused by a radionic ship sitting in the background. So that's how you can tell when they're there. And that proves that they exist, right then and there. And as I say, there's over half a billion of them. There's 1,000, we call them tin pots. There are 1,000 UFOs that can be seen in the third dimension. Like a baseball would bounce off them. The radionic ships, a baseball, even though they may look pretty solid, a baseball would just sail right through it. See, because it's water vapor, it's moisture, it's not solid physics. But there's 1,000 of these tin pots that are in the third dimension. They project from the lower fifth dimension into Earth's third dimension, and you can see those, which is the ones that the government flies around after, and so it goes. And those are the bad guys. The long and the short, those are the bad guys.
So one more time, you said the ones that fly around. What do those look like? The ones that
Well,
are the bad guys?
those look like the UFOs you see in photographs,
Yes.
like flying
Yes.
saucers. They look like flying saucers.
So what I just like to read, this is my position on this, ladies and gentlemen. My position is that, a lot of we have the people around the world have been misled in a lot of areas, I'll say nicely. And if, we can agree as one people, if we can agree that the people the people who are 1%ers, the 1%, all right, who sit at the top with all their mansions and all these things, and we can agree that they've deceived the masses in some way, right? In some areas, let's just say in the area of money, that's why they have all of it, and the rest of us don't, whatever, right? Then we have to be able to come to the conclusion that they've also potentially lied about or deceived regarding creation, regarding things that we should know, absolutely should know. And that includes things like what a UFO would look like, right? So I just want the people to know, that Hollywood version of what a UFO would look like. If you see something like that coming out the sky, I don't know what to tell you. But radionic ships of the heavenly hosts is something that they do not tell you about. But Mr.
Well, they're not. They're almost categorically carte blanche, except for maybe a few that are read my websites. They're totally oblivious to that fact. In fact, I was going to say they can't figure out why things aren't going the way they want, because they don't recognize the fact that there's a half a billion of these guys around the planet every day, making sure they don't get the things they want.
Yes. Now, I just want to say to the people on my page, in the community tab, I posted a picture of a radionic ship of the heavenly hosts right from my balcony. And like I was showing in camera, there is also a book for that specifically. This one, the radionic ships of the heavenly hosts. And guys, it has a ton of examples in the book of what I'm not going to give you guys too much, but it has a ton of examples of what a radionic ship looks like. And when I tell you, once you see it, and you can't unsee it.
Yeah, that's a good way
Um,
to unsee it. Yeah.
you cannot unsee it when you recognize it. Let me tell you, it is something. It is truly divine when you recognize it and you actually see it and you recognize what it is. It's like for me personally, a feeling came over me when I was in the presence of it and like actually acknowledging its presence. It was a
Well,
very,
you were getting a buzz back from the people in it.
yeah. Yeah, and so this is what I so urgently want to get people to become aware of. And I think that your work, these series of books, these series of books that we have been displaying, is so truly useful, and it begins to open up and expand one's knowing, and that helps when we're when we're discussing ascension and like the times changing and the changes of the age. It's going to help the people work through that process and understand and overstand that process, in a very actually, it's because your works are very comprehensible. I will say, I'm an avid reader. When I tell you guys that this book has gems on every page, there's gems on every page. It's not like a normal book, guys, where it's like you could read it like, in a couple days, straight, front to back. It's one of those, for me anyway. It was one of those books where you have to read it and actually take it in. Like
Yeah,
you might find yourself.
it's like a calculus textbook. You can't go to page chapter 4 without going through chapter 1 first, because you won't know
Right.
what it's talking about. See, so it is a linear process.
Yes, yes, yes. So, let's talk, since we're on this topic of your books, let's talk about what about the people who say, okay, well, where'd this guy come from? Where'd this guy get this
Well,
information?
my background is very. I'm going to stay. The messenger is not the message. So who I am and what I am isn't the important thing. It's the script. The
Right.
script. Right?
So, right. What do you like? So, in terms of people who say, okay, well, how can where did this information that's coming, that are in these books, where did it come from? How did you get this information? Is this something that,
Well, it
how
was.
would you say
I have what's called, and not everybody does, mind you. I have what's called a Melchizedek power unit. See, there are different ways of interdimensional or telepathic communication. There's the so-called channeling, so on. Well, that's the lower consciousness of somebody up there into the lower consciousness of somebody down here. And that's verboten. The channeling is out. But you also have Landonidic.
Sorry, excuse me. You said the channeling is forbidden.
It's verboten, yeah. Channeling is, whoever's being channeled or is the receiver of the channeling is being set up with thoughts and ideas that they want them to run around with, to keep the true light away. So anybody says, I am the channel for, you say next. If you don't see Christ in the first couple of sentences, then it's not from the top end, It's as simple as that. Anything you read in the internet, if you don't see Christ in the first little bit, it's not real. It's somebody's opinion, somebody's 2 and 2, somebody was told something. Oh, I've got to tell everybody else that, blah, blah, blah. I'm the channel.
Gotcha. So you said you have a.
Yeah, it's called a Melchizedek power unit, and that allows me to communicate thought to thought. In other words, from the Melchizedek words, I'll get the whole thought, and then here's something I was going to do it earlier. Good. Your upper side, you're a triune celestial being, intelligence, energy, substance, fully Christ, a triune celestial being. And when you incarnated, your soul atom uh, took up residence in your pituitary gland. That's called the Lord that sitteth upon the throne. That's you in your true triune state. Um, and the the information comes into your soul atom, who reformats it into a language structure that people can follow. Well, actually, not quite, into a thought structure, so that it can be formulated into a verbal, written format and so on. And then it transmits it down to the outer ego part of you, as an induction. It's called induction. There's inductions going on all the time now. And then it's up to you to formulate it into thoughts that you can pass on to others. Now, that's what I've done. That's my job here, is to put it, I get the thoughts, but then my job is to wrap words around them so that the thought itself stays that thought, not some corrupt version. And to say, why me and blah, blah, blah. Well, I wasn't the one who was originally officially targeted to bring through the Revelatorium stuff. It was the incarnation of St. John the Baptist, and it says, you will teach all the people in all of the lands. They were the ones that were supposed to bring this stuff through. But through the 60s, 70s, and 80s and so on, they got into a mathematic astronomy loop, I guess you'd call it, of taking the intelligent design factors and using it to calculate the orbit of Mars and the mass of Neptune and that kind of stuff, and got stuck into it. So that if this information came through now, it would have gone off into their math and so on. So they were out. So I was handed the responsibility to do it because it was known in advance that I would understand it. B, I wouldn't use it for self-made gain. I wouldn't try to be a hero on it. Like everybody in the internet, I'm the ambassador from Gunnar, so I'm a hero. I wouldn't use it for self-made gain. I wouldn't use it as fodder for a church, for example. I wouldn't set up a cult. I wouldn't try and. I have the right to live off it, and as I want, but I don't have the right to have a yacht and have a Ferrari and have a 44,000 square foot mansion and that kind of crap. Just your needs are covered. I have the right to whatever my needs are. See, so they knew in advance that I would be pure. So as a pure vessel. So that's when it started in 1998, I guess, is when this stuff started. Now, the Radionnic Ships, I was the guy that was slated in time to come to do that one, and that started in 2000, April 20th of 2016. So here we are now. There's all three. Now there's going to be 7 books altogether. This form, they're sort of partially finished, but I have to get to them eventually. There's going to be 7 books when the whole thing's undone.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love how you stated that in terms of, you receiving that information and you not, using it for any kind of selfish gain and things, or to, more importantly, to try to get anyone to, use it as some sort of form of religion or something, organized religion or something like that. And I just want to say, to piggyback off that, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to help Mr. Delahnnovahh-starr Livingstone as much as we can to help get more people's hands on this book. Okay, these books, plural, are so amazing, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you, when I began to read it, when I tell you, it's like things started connecting that I've been trying to connect for a little bit of, some time.
That's exactly what it's for. It's to connect the dots for those that are already partly there, but the dots are all confused. It's to connect the dots. So
Yes, and when I tell you guys these works have an ability to connect. So if you're on your spiritual journey and you're in the business of knowing thyself, if you're in the business of knowing, about what it is that we are living in, what it is that we are, then I would definitely recommend these works. And in the link in the description box down below, you will find a link to a GoFundMe for the works that Mr. Delahnnovahh-starr Livingstone has been dedicating his life to doing. And from what I can see from this gentleman here, he is a very humble, man. And it's in my view, I tend to have a very good sense of character. I'm prior military myself and whatnot, so I have a good sense of character. And let me say, I think that I absolutely believe him when he says that this is something he's done to help people. So if you wouldn't mind, if you are watching this video, please go down to the description box below. Click that link and donate whatever you can. If we can get everyone who views this video, if we can get everyone to donate just a few bucks, it will be greatly, greatly appreciated. What it would do is it will assist Mr. Livingstone with publishing the books, okay, at a more reasonable cost to him. He's doing all of this with his own budget, and we all know how things are right now, okay, and he's wanting to get this information out. I think it'll be great to get this information out to more and more people. And with every donation you make to this GoFundMe, you will be making it easier for him to publish and send said books out to the people. So go down to the description box, click that link, and donate what you can, okay? And if you have a little extra, give a little extra. If you only got a couple bucks, we will appreciate that as well. Again, this is for the betterment of humanity. This is for people who are on their spiritual path, who want to understand and overstand some things a little bit more. Get you these books. Get you these books, okay? And donate. In the description box, ladies and gentlemen, okay? Click that link. Okay. So one more thing before for this segment, if you don't mind. Back to current events. Elon Musk he set off a rocket not too long ago, right? And people have recorded it. And they saw that it looked like it hit something, right? As it was going up, it looked like the rocket almost hit something and exploded. That's what it looked like. It appeared. I bring that up because people are saying that was the rocket hitting the firmament. What is your thoughts on the whole idea of a firmament, that being some sort of a dome structure? What is your take on that?
well, it's two things. The flat Earth people are partly right because Earth's fifth dimension is flat. Okay, and the idea that there's a solid shell firmament is on that goes back to the 16th, 15th centuries. So,
Yeah, interesting. Okay, very interesting. Interesting. Well, is there anything else you have to say for the people regarding this conversation?
Yeah, I was just when you talked about the costs and everything. I'm running the entire show as we speak at this moment on old age pension. Now I'm doing that because I'm not going to bars and I'm not buying drugs and I'm not going on holidays and I'm not doing all of the things that you spend your money on that don't do anything for anybody else. See, every penny that I've got, I call it flipping dimes, a loaf of bread or a quart of milk, every penny dime I get, gets determined where it's going to be spent, but it's not spent on self. And that's why this whole thing is succeeding the way it is. See, the Cabell want billions of dollars to do their small little negative things. Christ uses pennies. I mean, the widow gave her last mite. They weren't rich. you know, the disciple stuff 2,000 years ago. I want to mention in there something there. They weren't rich, but they used the money wisely and got things done. You know, uh, the federales never caught up with the troop that was on the move all the time, because when they finished giving a lecture here, they'd head, say, due north. And once they got out of sight of that area, they'd do a hard left or a hard right or something and go in a different direction. And then when the federales rolled up later and said, "Where'd they go? Where'd they go?" And they said, "Oh, they went north." Well, they just keep going north and never got caught up. You know, never caught up to them. So they're
Mhm.
always on the move, always this way or that way. And they walked at power walking, for
Yeah,
exercise. They walked
yeah,
at power walking speed the whole time. Everywhere they went, they were at power walking speed. So they didn't just loaf around, you know.
right. Well, I can and I appreciate you. I just want to say I thank you very much for your time coming on, discussing some things with me. Part one, we'll call it, and an introduction to the fundraiser that we're doing to get this book rolling. So I hope that everyone out there watching enjoyed the subject matter, a conversation that I think was meaningful. Um, and anything else you have to say? Until next time.
Maybe schedule one a month, not one a month, one a week.
Yeah, I think that sounds lovely. Because guys, folks, when I tell you the stuff that's in these books are so amazing, and it's a once a week type of subject matter.
Well, I could talk like this for 60 hours and never repeat myself. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, it's that much. Yeah, it's deep. It's deep, but it's a beautiful kind of deep. It's not like an oh my gosh, it's so much. It's like a wow, there's so much type of, deep, it's in my view. In my view, I think it's a good time. So again, I say thank you very much for your time and for your energy, and for being on the show. And we will see you next time. I hope that you enjoyed that part one of our conversation with Mr. Delahnnovahh-starr Livingstone of Uversa. The next episode, we'll be discussing something for all of the fans of the UFOs and the stuff that's going on in the sky. We have the man himself who wrote the book, The Radionnic Ships of the Heavenly Hosts, talking about just that and what they don't want you to know about what's going on in our skies. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned. Until next time, be safe, be well. Ashe. Hello, it's me, Zoti from the Light Collective, and welcome back to another episode of I Just Said It Twice. Start over. The Light Collective. The Light.